to you and welcome to yet another episode of Smash TV. In this episode we're going to present you with some gems. Let's see what we have, shall we? Shiver is a Spanish movie about a boy, Santi, who has a condition which doesn't allow him to be in the sunlight too much. That is forced to move with his mom to a small isolated mountain village. When he arrived, he was of course immediately considered to be an outsider and shunned even more, cause no mom can ever see that coming, right? Things don't help when suddenly, coincidence? Or not? Murders are being done. What happens is very obvious and none of the movies that follow will surprise you, at all. Unless you never saw a movie. It's so predictable you can even know what is going to happen at the end, including the final scare. Shiver is competently made, but that's about it. Watch if there's nothing else and you want something simple. Check that. Angel Heart is a neo-noir story about a detective, played by Mickey Rourke, who is hired by a rich man in order to find a man called Johnny Favorite. Doing this, however, is a much more daunting task than previously thought, and Rourke's character delves himself deeper into something dark and sinister. Angel Heart is a psychological thriller with a lot of noir elements and is considered to be the last true noir film by certain people. Robert De Niro plays the mysterious Louis Cypher, ordering Harry Angel, played by Rourke, around and pressuring him to do more. Angel Heart is beautifully shot, well acted, and has some very interesting themes that undoubtedly be more fleshed out during reviews of this movie. There's plenty of symbolism in the movie to give enough hints about where it was going, but I was too enthralled by the movie and Lisa Bonnet's charm and character to see it until it was too late. Angel Heart is great and should be seen by, well, everyone. Smash that. The Last Duel is Ridley Scott's bombed medieval movie that apparently failed because of millennials and their fucking cell phones. Personally, I think that is quite an exaggeration, though I do agree that a lot of time is unfortunately spent while holding a cell phone, but that is not the reason this movie flopped. The Last Duel is the medieval story set in 14th century France about two feuding feudal knights and the woman they are involved in. 2/3 of the movie is the same story as told by the two men played by Matt Damon and Adam Driver. You get medieval battles, medieval intrigue, medieval feasts, medieval debauchery, glorious medieval landscapes, and the usual people craving power and doing anything to get it, or to make sure other people don't get it. In these two stories we see the viewpoint of Damon's and Driver's characters and the common piece in both their stories, including Jodie Comer's, who plays Marguerite de Carouges, Marguerite, who gets violated and raped by Driver's character, which allows Damon's character to ask for a duel to avenge his wife's befoulment. In the third act, however, we see the world through the view of Marguerite, and we are painted a picture of the hubris of men and how women are the victims of the patriarchy, being slapped in the face with this for years now. I almost rolled my eyes regardless of the fact that this movie actually happened. Yes, this is a true story, except of course for Hollywood, who portrayed the rape as something different from the real deal. In reality, she was raped by two men and beaten. This, for whatever ridiculous reason, was changed in the movie. Why? I do not get, cause this would make it even worse. The first time you see what happens to her, from the viewpoint of her rapist, you even see that it is rape. I figure the creators didn't dare to show his point of view as if he was doing her a favor, but omitting that made it look very weird to me. A little more subtle acting would have been a lot more poignant, and adding these actual events would make it even more impactful. But they didn't. Needless to say, I didn't like the third act for a multitude of reasons, but overall this movie is the quality you expect from Ridley Scott, minus the nonsensical Prometheus movies that almost ruined a franchise. Check that. Bad Girls in a Dormitory? What? Doesn't that immediately pique your interest? I mean, girls that are naughty in a dormitory? Come on. Alas, reality is often more disappointing than your imagination, and this movie surely is a disappointment. In Bad Girls Dormitory we follow a couple of girls who are clearly bad or naughty being picked up and arrested and put in a reform school to make sure they aren't naughty in the future. Unfortunately, this reform school is filled with other naughty people, and even even the mistress and her minions aren't really nice people. All this still sounds alluring, but this is such a half-assed movie that you can quickly see that there's nothing to the movie. It appears to be filmed in a diner, and it doesn't give a feel of a school at all. Due to the lack of scale, the movie feels like a theater play with additional circus acting. There's of course boobage, and some rappage, some lesbian action, but it's not titillating at all. My eyes glazed over despite all the female bodies on the screen, cause it's so lame overall. In the long list of movies with the same plot, this one really is low on the list. Drop that. If the title wasn't an indication enough, Female Prisoner Caged is a Japanese movie about a women's prison where women in prison do what they do: have sex. Female Prisoner Caged brings us the story of an inmate who fails her attempt to escape and gets the ire of the warden and the whole prison on her. She is also quite the horny person, and her secretions seem to have a certain effect on those who come in contact with it. Though this little tidbit isn't really talked about, so maybe it's something I added myself. It certainly makes the film more interesting than just a female prison flick. Female Prisoner Caged is considered to be a porno due to the copious amount of skin there is, but I personally think porno is an often plotless film where there's full-fledged penetration, and that is something that is not the case with this one. It is definitely an erotic movie with large amounts of sexploitation running through it. Rapage is rampant, torture and vile behavior, the dominance of power versus rebellion, all aspects of a film that raise this a slightly bit above a mere porno. Female Prisoner Caged is an enjoyable and good sexploitation with enough titillation and plot to keep both the perv as well as the cult movie aficionado intrigued up to the quite daring ending. Smash that. Tumbling Doll of Flesh isn't a movie I would recommend for everyone. It is by all means one of those faux snuff movies that combine gore and sexual activity to shock the viewer. The plot is simple. A woman is doing her first porno, but it's quickly clear that she is not up to the task. The directors get fed up and things happen. Gory things. Bloody things. Spoilers. That's it. The sex is censored. The gore is clearly fake and the acting is what you would expect. There's really nothing more to be said about this. It's just one of those movies, you know. It's for a certain type of people, or for people like me who are just curious enough to try it and finally go like, okay, I saw that. On to the next, I guess. 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 On to the next, I... Drop that. Remember that movie I reviewed a while back with Dirk Benedict called Body Slam, where I expected a slightly bumbling leisure suit Larry-like smooth talker with a lot of hard bodies around him? Well, this movie is pretty much what I thought that movie would be. 3 middle-aged men rent a beach house to get some bodacious bikini babe action, but they miserably fail to charm any of the 20-year-old hotties that are parading their tight bodies on the beach. So they run into a hot surfer dude and they decide to help Yakutha out. Hardbodies is a movie of the 80s with fun music, fun parties and people having fun. Do you remember what fun is? I do, but this movie showed me again what it was like. Originally made to be shown on the Playboy channel, it was quickly picked up by Columbia Pictures and released as an actual movie. And this doesn't feel like a Playboy movie despite having plenty of Playboy models parading in it in and out of clothes. The plot is simple, but there are some funny moments in it. But it's just good fun for everyone. The old dudes, the young dudes, the girls, the women. It's people having fun and none of the egg walking we're supposed to do these days. It even has morals to the story. So yeah, if you enjoy fun and pretty girls and boys having it, great 80s music and vibes and comedic leisure suit Larry plotlines, then be sure to watch this. And if you don't, watch it anyways. Maybe you'll discover something you didn't know you had. Smash that. Girls' boarding schools, much like dormitories and re-education camps, are a cornucopia of possibilities that allow people to make movies about the young, The Evil and the Savage is an Italian movie about a science teacher who joins a prestigious college that only has 7 girls and they are dying. And when girls die, people pop up to figure out who is dying. And then there's a lot of talking, and that's about all that I remember that is of note. There's no nudity, there's no real suspense. The aesthetic is sublimely 60s, and there's 1,000 movies more exciting and fun than this one. The Evil and the Savage sounds good on paper, but it's just way too bland to be good, and granted, I do not know Italian, but nude or sounds like there's some nudity and amour in it, and quite frankly I didn't see any of that. Check that. Ballado Bomber is a Russian World War II movie about a bomber and his crew crashing their plane within enemy lines and getting captured, each in their own way, by the Germans. One of them lands in a POW camp, the other is on the run from those who are chasing them. Both hope to return home, to their loved one, among them the attractive teacher who is now part of a resistance group, but all involved have the weight and the atrocities of the war play with their morals. The Bomber is an over 3 hours long movie that has also been cut up as a series that is a wee bit long and perhaps better consumed as a series or with the mindset of seeing a series. It is the modern World War II look that Saving Private Ryan decided to introduce and has been imitated every time since then. It has romance, action and a lot of drama. The insight from the Russian is novel to see, though it's not as gritty as other movies or series about the Russian part in the Second World War. It overall feels a bit clean in comparison with others where the atrocities of the Russian state upon his own area wasn't hidden for the viewer. In The Bomber, however, it's pretty much sunshine and muddy rainbows, at least in the amount that you would expect from the dreadful period the movie is played in. The Bomber is an okay movie that is competently made and a good, but long, look with love story into the many human sides of the war that changed the world. Check that. Invasion is yet another Apple. Fuck you, Apple. Suck a drain pipe, Tim Cook. Science fiction series with high aspirations. It was revealed to be a show with no other than Sam Neill, and he does appear in the first episode as a detective who first encounters what might be an alien invasion. And that's about it, cause you will not see Sam Neill's character ever again during the whole season. A common tactic used these days to get viewers called bait and switch, where a big star is unceremoniously exchanged for someone lesser known. Episode 2 brings us the real main characters of the show, an Indian former doctor with her 2-timing husband and kids, a black United States soldier stuck in Afghanistan before Brandon decided to ditch everyone there, a Japanese lesbian scientist working at JAXA whose girlfriend was in space and one of the first to indicate an arrival, and finally a weird autistic kid and his classmates going on a trip to God knows where in the United Kingdom. These people will spend an awful lot of episodes dealing with their issues when the world goes up in ice-cold flames. And then, somewhere near the end, you finally see the aliens. No spoilers, cause you are already told in posters in the first episode. It's strangely compelling, but it takes way too long to get somewhere, and when it finally gets somewhere it kind of fizzles. Apple. Fuck you, Apple. Already decided to make a second season, so I guess it didn't fail super hard. Not that that is a reason these days not to make sequels, seeing many crappy shows get multiple seasons even when the first one is failing. Gotta have a constant stream of content for all those people who are paying regardless if they watch right. Invasion is okay. Could be a lot better, but the bait and switch with Sam Neill makes me feel a bit dirty for recommending it, especially since it's one of the lamest invasions I've ever seen. Drop that. That was quite the 10 recommendations, wasn't it? Another to go in the annals of history. One day people will watch these and say, geez, that robot sure watched a lot of movies. Was he some kind of god or something? Who knows? You won't. I probably will if they oil me well.